Chosen one, social media is fake. The worst thing you've ever done. They told you to show up, shine bright, and play the game. But what they didn't tell you is that the game was rigged. The truth is, chosen one, social media was never about truth. It was never about authenticity. It was never about connection. It was a trap, a stage, a carefully constructed illusion meant to confuse you, distract you, and detach you from your true self. And the worst part? You bought into it. We all did. But now, it's time to face it. This chapter is about realizing how the most convincing lie of our generation took center stage, and how you can walk away from it stronger than ever before. Before we dive deep into this eye-opening revelation, we encourage you to stay until the very end of this video. Let this truth settle into your spirit, and if it resonates with you, write 99 and your warmest wishes in the comments. This chapter is not just about exposing lies, it's about realigning with your destiny. It's about wishes coming true and energizing the universe to reflect your authentic light. The power has always been within you, not in a screen, not in a filter, but in your spirit. Now let's talk about the trap. You open that app for the first time with pure intentions, maybe just to connect with friends, maybe to find a little inspiration, maybe even to create something meaningful. But quickly, the colors got brighter, the posts got louder, and before you even realized it, you weren't scrolling anymore, you were searching. Searching for validation, searching for proof that you were enough, that you mattered, that you belonged. And the more you scrolled, the emptier you felt. Because what you were looking for was never there. What you were fed was an endless loop of illusions, smiles curated by algorithms, lives filtered to perfection, stories crafted not to inspire, but to manipulate. You were being trained to compare, to crave, to consume, trained to look at someone else's highlight reel and question your own journey. And it worked. Oh, it worked. You started editing yourself, your thoughts, your words, your essence, just to fit a mold that was never real to begin with. But here's the truth. That mold was designed to break you. It wasn't accidental. It was systematic. It was strategic. Social media wasn't created to uplift you. It was created to exploit you. Your attention became their currency. Your emotions became their data. Your insecurities became their profit. And while you were chasing likes, shares, and followers, your real life, the one that truly matters, was put on pause. Let's be honest. How many moments have you ruined trying to capture the perfect post? How many times have you opened your phone first thing in the morning, only to feel worse by noon? How many relationships, dreams, and thoughts have been polluted by an app designed to keep you addicted? This isn't just a digital distraction, it's a spiritual war. You see, chosen one, every second spent inside the illusion is a second stolen from your purpose. Every moment you doubted yourself because of someone else's post is a moment of divine energy lost. You were made for truth, for light, for impact. But the lie told you that your worth depended on how much attention you could get from strangers online. The lie told you to shrink your power, dim your light, and become another clone in a crowd of noise. But that ends now, because you're waking up. You're starting to see beyond the pixel-perfect smiles and perfectly timed captions. You're realizing that behind every post is a human being, hurting just like you, lost just like you, craving truth just like you. And when the lights go off, when the screen dims, when the noise stops, all that remains is your soul, your calling, your truth. You don't need a blue check to validate your existence. You don't need viral views to confirm your destiny. You don't need followers to prove you're chosen. What you need is clarity. What you need is healing. What you need is to reclaim your energy from the illusion that stole it. You see, the worst thing you ever did wasn't posting that one thing. It wasn't following that one trend. It wasn't even spending hours comparing your journey to someone else's. The worst thing you ever did was believe the lie. The lie that said who you are is not enough. The lie that said you have to be more, show more, do more, just to be loved. But here's the shift. Now that you see the lie, you can choose truth. Truth looks like logging out so you can log into your soul. Truth looks like facing the mirror instead of the front camera. Truth looks like being present with your real life, your real people, your real purpose. Because when you disconnect from the lie, you reconnect with your light. And that's where everything changes. You begin to remember what joy feels like without having to capture it. You begin to love without the pressure of proving it. You begin to create without the chains of clout. You begin to live fully, freely, truly. Chosen one, you were never meant to perform. You were meant to transform. And your transformation starts here, in this moment, with this choice, with this truth. The worst thing you ever did is already behind you. What matters now is what you do next. You see, chosen one, the lie wasn't just digital. It seeped into your decisions, your friendships, your confidence. It affected the way you dressed, the way you spoke, the way you thought about your own future. Without knowing it, you began to measure your worth based on engagement. Your joy was tied to algorithms, and your self-image. It was filtered, cropped, and uploaded for a crowd that could never truly see you. But now you're beginning to see, not with your eyes, but with your soul. You're noticing the emotional exhaustion that comes after hours of scrolling. You're noticing how quickly your energy drops when you compare your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. You're noticing that you don't feel like yourself anymore. And that's not failure. That's awakening. That's your spirit shaking the illusion and saying, enough. Let's take it deeper. When was the last time you sat in silence, no phone, no screen, no filter, and just felt? When was the last time you let your thoughts roam free, unedited, unposted, untouched? Because that's where the real you lives, in the unseen, in the quiet, in the sacred. You are not the likes. You are not the comments. You are not the metrics. You are the message. And the message was never meant to be watered down, reshaped, or distorted just to be liked. You were never meant to hustle for validation. You were meant to radiate truth. You were meant to be the mirror, not to reflect what's trending, but to reflect what's eternal. The reason you felt empty wasn't because you lacked content. It was because the content lacked you. Your soul was never designed to survive on dopamine hits and digital applause. It needs presence. It needs authenticity. It needs moments that can't be shared because they're too real to capture. But social media told you otherwise. It told you that your worth had to be broadcasted. It trained you to market your life instead of live it. You became a brand, a product, a profile. When you were born to be a phenomenon, you began to measure your spiritual growth by digital milestones. But chosen one, there are no hashtags in heaven, no likes on your legacy, no filters on your faith. You have been giving too much power to platforms that were never meant to hold your destiny. You've been placing your future in the hands of strangers, hoping they'll see you, validate you, love you, but they never truly could. Because they don't know your battles, they don't know your journey, they don't know your why. And you've been paying the price in your mind, in your emotions, in your energy. Because every time you gave social media your attention, you gave it a piece of your soul. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, consistently, until one day you looked in the mirror and barely recognized yourself. But not anymore. This part of your story is about retrieval, reclaiming what was stolen, reconnecting with what was silenced, remembering who you are before the distortion. This is the part where you decide that your reality is more important than your reputation, that your peace is more powerful than your profile, that your truth is more valuable than your timeline. Let go of the need to be seen, and you'll start to see everything clearly. Let go of the addiction to being known, and you'll finally know yourself. Let go of the fear of missing out, and you'll realize you were never behind. You were just too ahead for a world addicted to fiction. Because social media doesn't reward truth, it rewards trends. It doesn't celebrate growth, it celebrates performance. But you were not created to perform. You were created to expand, to evolve, to elevate. And elevation doesn't require a platform. It requires alignment. You may lose followers on the way. You may become invisible to those who only value noise. But the ones who matter, who really see, will find you. And more importantly, you will find you. And that's when the real rise begins. Because once you unplug from the illusion, you start to live in your own frequency. You start creating from wholeness instead of scarcity. You start loving without needing to prove it. You start moving in silence, with power, with purpose. And suddenly, everything that once felt missing returns, not from a notification, but from within. This is not just about deleting an app. This is about detoxing your destiny, cleaning the lens of your life, refusing to let your future be filtered by fear, comparison, or falsehood. You were lied to, chosen one. But now, you're choosing truth. And that's the most dangerous, powerful, beautiful thing you've ever done. The illusion is breaking. And so are your chains. You're not just leaving an app behind, you're leaving an identity you never chose, a persona that was never yours, a digital shell that was crafted by the expectations of others and reinforced by every like, every share, every comment. Social media didn't just ask you to show your life, it asked you to sell it. And for what? Fleeting approval? Temporary attention? The illusion of relevance? But the truth is, no amount of followers can fulfill a soul starving for purpose. Chosen one? Let's call it what it is. This was never connection. It was consumption. And you were the product. You were trained to look perfect, but feel empty. To share daily, but suffer silently. To create content while neglecting your character. You started asking yourself, how will they see this? Instead of, how do I feel about this? You started performing instead of processing, curating instead of healing. And the scariest part? The world celebrated it. The algorithm rewarded your mask and punished your truth. But you're not meant to live with a mask. You're not meant to be anyone's digital puppet. You were never designed to dance for likes or shrink for strangers. You were made to be powerful, raw, and real. Every time you edited your soul to fit their feed, a piece of your power faded. Every time you smiled for a screen while crying behind it, your truth was buried a little deeper. And every time you said yes to trends that didn't reflect your spirit, you said no to your purpose. But no more. This moment, right now, is sacred. It's the beginning of your return. Back to the you who didn't need a post to feel proud. Back to the you who trusted your intuition over opinions. Back to the you who lived for impact, not impressions. You see, when you live through social media, you experience life in echoes. You don't feel things as they happen. You delay them until they're shareable. You document the moment instead of being in it. And in doing so, you miss the depth, the divinity, the life of life itself. But when you step away, the world comes alive again. Colors are brighter, silence is richer, conversations are deeper. You begin to notice how sacred the mundane really is, how powerful it feels to laugh without recording it, to cry without tweeting it, to love without posting it. That's when healing begins. Because healing doesn't happen in public. Healing doesn't happen in comment sections. Healing happens in stillness, in solitude, in sacred spaces that don't need to be seen to be real. And right now, the universe is calling you to that sacred space, to detox, to disconnect, to deprogram. You've been running on empty, trying to fill a void that social media can't touch. Because your void isn't digital, it's spiritual. It's the ache of being misunderstood, the pain of being overlooked, the exhaustion of constantly proving your value in a system designed to forget you the moment you stop posting. But guess what? You don't owe the system another second of your life. You don't owe the algorithm your voice, your mind, your beauty, your brilliance. You don't owe anyone a curated version of yourself. You only owe yourself truth. And the truth is, you are powerful without a platform. You are enough without an audience. You are chosen even when no one is watching. The scariest thing the system ever feared was you remembering that. That's why it's loud. That's why it's fast. That's why it never lets you breathe. Because if you pause long enough, you'll hear something louder than any notification. The voice of your soul. The whisper that says, come home. Home to yourself. Home to your thoughts. Home to your calling. Because that calling doesn't live in a post. It lives in your presence. And the moment you reclaim your presence from the pixelated prison they put you in, you become unstoppable. You start to create again, not for clout, but for the creator within. You start to speak again, not to trend, but to transform. You start to live again, not to be seen, but to be free. And freedom, chosen one, is the real flex. Freedom is deleting what drains you. Freedom is unfollowing what insults your soul. Freedom is waking up and choosing peace over popularity. And you can feel it, can't you? The digital fog lifting, the clarity returning, the space in your mind growing wider and brighter. That's your spirit reclaiming its territory. That's your power turning back on. That's the real you, rising. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't need to justify your healing. You don't need to document your detour. You just need to live it, fully, boldly, quietly, loudly. However you choose, so long as you choose you. This is the rebellion. Choosing self over screen. Choosing soul over stats. Choosing alignment over attention. Because everything you've been chasing on the outside already lives inside you. The love, the purpose, the validation, the destiny. It's all within, and no app, no post, no stranger can give you what was yours before you ever picked up a phone. So let this be the turning point. Let this be the moment you silence the feed and listen to your future calling. You've tried their way. Now try yours. You've performed long enough. Now live. The mask is off. The illusion is done. The real you is ready. So what happens now, chosen one? You've broken the trance. You've seen behind the curtain. The filters have cracked, the illusions are exposed, and the truth is too loud to ignore. Now, you are walking through the rubble of the persona that social media sculpted for you. And in that space, a question echoes. Who am I without all this? That question isn't scary. It's sacred. Because what you are now discovering isn't just who you are. It's who you've always been. Before the noise, before the numbers, before the world convinced you to perform. Let that sink in. You are standing at the crossroads between digital fiction and divine authenticity. And for the first time in a long time, you are choosing not to feed the illusion. You are choosing your peace, your purpose, your path. And that choice is powerful. That choice is rebellion. That choice is what will separate you from the crowd and align you with the call. But don't expect applause for waking up. In fact, expect silence, expect distance, expect confusion from those still lost in the algorithm. Some will question you. Some will mock you. Some will assume you've fallen off simply because you stopped feeding the machine. Let them. Because what they don't know is you're finally rising into a deeper state of awareness, rising into a life that isn't measured by impressions, but by impact, rising into freedom, the kind that doesn't require performance to be respected and doesn't require visibility to be valuable. And with that freedom, something profound happens. You begin to remember what truly matters. You start seeing people, not profiles. You start valuing time, not trends. You start recognizing moments, not metrics. And suddenly, your life becomes full again. Not in the way the apps define fullness, but in the quiet, sacred, personal way only real life can provide. You begin creating art for the soul, not for the algorithm. You begin speaking from your center, not for engagement. You begin building legacy, not just content. And as this shift unfolds, something even deeper emerges. You begin to trust your inner compass again. That compass that was drowned out by reels, stories, updates, notifications, that compass is now your guide. You begin to walk slower, but with more purpose. You begin to speak less, but with more power. You begin to create less frequently, but with deeper truth. You are no longer just posting. You are planting. And what you're planting now is eternal. No trend can erase it. No shadow ban can silence it. No audience loss can affect it. Because what you're building now isn't for clicks. It's for the kingdom within. It's for the alignment of your inner world with your outer walk. It's for the divine rhythm that lives beneath every breath, every move, every choice. That's why they'll never understand what you're doing. They still think it's about likes. They still think it's about reach. But you know better now. It's about resonance. You're not trying to be seen. You're trying to be real. You're not trying to go viral. You're trying to go home. Home to peace. Home to presence. Home to power. And the closer you walk toward your truth, the more you'll see what social media tried to steal. Your originality, your intuition, your divine intelligence, your soul's compass. It's not just that social media is fake, it's that it's empty, it's hollow, it's endlessly hungry, and it's designed to keep you feeding it until you forget how to feed yourself. But now, chosen one, you remember. You remember what it feels like to laugh without posting it. You remember what it feels like to create without needing applause. You remember what it feels like to feel deeply, fully, freely, without explaining it to the world. And that remembering is sacred. That remembering is why the system fears you. Because you are no longer addicted to attention. You are aligned with awareness. You are no longer chasing the timeline. You are listening to divine timing. And in this stillness, in this sacred unplugging, the fog lifts and your vision returns. You begin to dream again. You begin to believe again. You begin to recognize that this entire detour, this entire trap, was a test to see if you would lose yourself for acceptance, a test to see if you would trade authenticity for applause. But you didn't, not fully, because here you are, awake, aware, aligned, and rising again. And let me tell you, your rise won't be on the explore page. It won't trend. It won't go viral. But it will move mountains. It will break chains. It will shift generations. Because it's real. Because it's true. Because it's you. So breathe, chosen one. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not irrelevant. You are simply done pretending. And in a world built on illusion, authenticity is the most powerful thing you can ever become. So now, chosen one, you stand in a rare position, outside of the loop, outside of the trap, outside of the matrix that once shaped your emotions, your thoughts, your identity. And what do you see from here? Clarity. Not the clarity they promised with all their polished feeds and inspirational quotes, but the raw, unfiltered clarity that only comes when your soul is no longer being suffocated. You look back and realize how long you lived for pixels, for approval, for a moment of validation that would vanish faster than it came. And every time it vanished, so did a piece of you, a piece of your peace, a piece of your presence, a piece of your truth. But here's the thing, the moment you stop feeding the illusion starves, and now it's starving. The version of you that needed to be liked no longer needs to be understood. The version of you that had to be seen no longer needs the spotlight, because you've become the light. Do you feel it? The shift in your being. The confidence that no longer comes from comments, but from conviction. The peace that no longer depends on someone else's perception of you, but on your own alignment. The silence that used to scare you now becomes your sanctuary. Because when the world stops watching, you start listening. And in that silence, you start to rebuild. You rebuild your creativity, not for applause, but for expression. You rebuild your goals, not to impress, but to impact. You rebuild your identity, not with likes, but with love. Real love, unconditional, internal, unshakable. And in this rebuilding, you realize just how fragile your digital identity was, how easily it broke when others didn't engage, how quickly it collapsed when it didn't perform. But now, your foundation is different. It's rooted, grounded, untouched by trends and untouched by fear. This new version of you doesn't need to be validated. It needs to be vibrated into new dimensions, new realities, new realms of divine alignment. Because the truth is, they taught you to shrink. Every post, every like, every algorithmic reward trained you to stay in line, to avoid depth, to perform just enough, not to rattle the system. But you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to disrupt. You were meant to speak what others silence. You were meant to shine in ways that can't be quantified by a platform's analytics. And now, chosen one, you're stepping into that role. Finally, powerfully, freely. You're no longer a product. You're a prophet. You're no longer a profile. You're a presence. You're no longer curating a life. You're living one. And that life, it's messy. It's real. It's beautiful in ways no filter could enhance. It's yours. And no algorithm can take that from you. But don't be surprised if people don't understand this version of you. Because this version of you doesn't check likes. This version of you let the silence deepen. Because what's growing in the dark is golden. What's being built in the quiet is unbreakable. What's being restored in your spirit will outlast any post, any profile, any platform. And what's coming next for you? It doesn't need a caption. It needs courage. Courage to keep walking when no one's watching. Courage to keep growing when no one's liking. Courage to keep rising even when the world expects you to stay small. This is the rise that can't be measured. This is the healing that doesn't need proof. This is the power that doesn't need to be posted. This is the beginning of your eternal timeline, the one that doesn't disappear in 24 hours, but lives forever in your impact. And now, chosen one, here you are, standing at the edge of everything you were and everything you're becoming. The journey you've taken wasn't digital, it was divine. You didn't just unplug from a device, you disconnected from deception. You didn't just log out of an app, you logged into your authentic self. And that is the boldest, rarest, most revolutionary act in a world obsessed with pretending. You see now that the worst thing you ever did was also the thing that led you here. That blind trust in a fake world. It cracked you, it drained you, it distorted your reflection until you couldn't even recognize your own soul. But through that breaking, something sacred emerged, a knowing, a whisper, a call back to what is real. And now you know the truth. Social media never really had you. It just borrowed your attention. But you're taking it back. You're reclaiming your days from the endless scroll, reclaiming your nights from the dopamine traps, reclaiming your worth from strangers who never knew your story. You are healing not by fixing what was broken out there, but by repairing what was ignored within. And that healing is not loud, it is not posted, it is not announced, but it is everything. Because now you choose presence over popularity, wholeness over hype, reality over the real. You no longer hunger for engagement, you hunger for depth. You no longer crave visibility, you crave vision. You no longer trade your truth for trends, you set the frequency. Chosen one, you are not missing out, you are breaking out. And what you're breaking out of is bigger than an app. It's a mindset, a culture, a cycle of self-abandonment for the sake of being seen. But now you are being seen by something greater. Your ancestors see you, the universe sees you, your future self sees you, and most importantly, you see you. You see your light, finally unfiltered. You see your pain, finally acknowledged. You see your purpose, finally undeniable. And when that happens, when you rise from the illusion and root yourself in truth, you become unshakable. You are no longer programmable, no longer influenceable, no longer addicted to the opinion of people who never knew your path. You are sovereign now. And with that sovereignty comes clarity. You never needed to prove yourself, not to followers, not to algorithms, not to anyone. Because your journey is not entertainment, it's enlightenment. Your wisdom is not a performance, it's prophecy. Your presence is not a brand, it's a blessing. And for the first time, in what feels like forever, you are no longer looking out there for answers. You are looking inward. You are consulting the quiet. You are listening to the whispers that rise when the world is finally silent. And what do those whispers say? They say you're ready. Ready to live with eyes wide open. Ready to create without fear of judgment. Ready to speak without editing your soul. Ready to love without performance. Ready to rise, not for approval, but because it's your time. You've graduated from the illusion. You've passed the test of pretending. And what's next is nothing short of miraculous. Because now, your spirit is finally free to move how it was always meant to move. You don't just scroll anymore, you soar. You don't just react, you realign. You don't chase likes, you attract miracles. And the energy you used to pour into pretending, that energy is now being reinvested in becoming. Becoming everything you buried, becoming everything they overlooked, becoming everything you always were, before the noise. So no, chosen one, this isn't the end of your story. This is the part where the plot shifts, where the healing deepens, where the silence roars, where the real you walks in. and they won't be ready. The world might not understand, but the universe will respond. Life will respond. Blessings will respond. Because now you are in harmony with the truth. You're not projecting anymore. You're embodying. You are not building a platform. You are building a legacy. One moment of alignment at a time. One breath of clarity at a time. One silent, powerful, intentional decision at a time. And the most beautiful part? You don't need to share it. You don't need to post it. You don't need to prove it. You just need to live it. Because the real flex is peace. The real glow-up is healing. The real win is waking up and not needing the world to see you to feel worthy. You were never created for the algorithm. You were created for ascension. So let them scroll. Let them chase. Let them perform. You're free now. Because after the illusion fades and the truth returns, something unexpected happens. Detox begins. Not the kind they sell you online. Not a quick reset. Not a 7-day cleanse. This is spiritual, emotional, energetic. And it's not pretty at first. You'll notice the withdrawals, not from the app, but from the approval. There will be moments when your hands twitch to pick up the phone. Not because there's something you need, but because you were trained to chase noise whenever silence got too loud. There will be moments when you second-guess your decisions. Should I go back just for one post? But the moment you remember how empty it felt, how hollow the likes were, you'll put the phone down again, and again, and again, until one day you don't reach for it out of habit. You reach for your heart instead. That's the real healing. When your reflex isn't to perform, but to pause. You start noticing your thoughts in their raw, unfiltered form. You begin witnessing your insecurities, not hiding them. You begin feeling the weight of all that you suppressed for the sake of looking okay. You feel the ache of real self-discovery. And let me tell you, that ache is sacred, because it means the false self is dying, and the real you is being born. This version of you is not polished, not perfect, not trending, but it is true. And truth doesn't always look good. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's vulnerable. Sometimes it's uncertain. But it is always powerful, always magnetic, always divine. And slowly, your nervous system begins to calm. Your creativity returns, not to get noticed, but to express your soul. You wake up, not checking who saw you, but asking, what do I need today? You dress for comfort. You speak with clarity. You rest without guilt. You begin to exist on your own terms. And what you realize as you live more and post less is this: not everything needs to be seen to be significant. Some of the most important breakthroughs happen in silence. Some of the most powerful moments are never documented. Some of the most divine revelations are too sacred for screens. You stop romanticizing visibility. You begin valuing alignment. Because you're not a brand anymore. You're a being. You're not content. You're consciousness. You're not a post. You're a prophecy. And this prophecy, it unfolds in private. Slowly, quietly, steadily. Your life begins to return to its natural rhythm. Not the rush of notifications, not the pressure of updates, but a divine rhythm that honors your energy, your truth, your timeline. And while the world keeps spinning faster and faster, you start to slow down. You start to choose intention over impulse. You begin to remember that you are the algorithm now. Your energy attracts what's meant. Your alignment delivers what's divine. You don't need to broadcast, you just need to be. And that being, it's magnetic, because people don't remember the noise, they remember the depth, the silence you carry, the peace that surrounds you. the light that doesn't need to shout to be felt. You become the message, just by existing. And yes, there will be people who don't understand. There will be people who wonder why you've disappeared, why you're not as active, why you've gone quiet. Let them wonder. Let them keep scrolling through noise while you build your garden in silence. Because your quiet is not absence, it is alchemy. You are not withdrawing, you are returning. You are not hiding, you are healing. You are not invisible, you are invincible. This is what reclaiming your life looks like. Not flashy, not filtered, but felt deeply. And the more you walk this path, the more miracles begin to meet you. Not the loud kind, the sacred kind. Moments of clarity in the morning, a conversation that shifts your spirit, a sudden download of wisdom you never searched for, but always needed. You begin to realize the less you depend on artificial connection, the more you experience authentic communion with your soul, with your creator, with life itself. And this communion isn't trendy, it isn't monetized, it doesn't care about views. It's eternal, it's true, it's everything you were missing while chasing everything else. So now, chosen one, you don't need to go back. There's nothing left for you in the loop. Your story has evolved. Your soul has matured. You've seen the glitch in the system, and you chose truth anyway. You don't belong to the crowd anymore. You belong to the calling. And in the next chapter, your light won't just be seen. It will shift the atmosphere, because you are no longer here to be famous. You are here to be free.